So, Alice, did you catch the game last night?
Game? What game? I'm not interested in human sport.
It wasn't a human sport. Actually. It was an intergalactic wrestling match.
Ah, I see. No, I didn't watch it. But I did finish reading that book you lom.
Oh, great. What did you think of it?
It was interesting, but I have some criticism. The author seems to have a very narrow view of human history.
I hadn't thought about it that way. But you're right. It does have a certain bias.
Hey guys, what's up?
Just talking about the book I lent Alice.
Oh, right. You know, I was never much of a reader myself.
That doesn't surprise me, Charlie. You always strike me as more of a live in the moment kind of guy.
You got me there, Alice. But you know what they said, ignorance is bliss.
Hey guys, can we get started soon?
Debbie, shut up.
I agree, let's get started. What's the topic for today?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Alice. Today we are going to be discussing the ethics of cloning.
Cloning? What's there to discuss? It's obviously wrong.
I'm not so sure about that, Bob. There are potential benefits to cloning that shouldn't be ignored.
Exactly, Alice. And that's why we are going to have a lively debate about it today. Are you guys ready to get started?
Let's do this.
I guess we don't have a choice, do we?
Good evening, and welcome to 24/7 Newsroom, where we bring you all the news from around the world and beyond. I'm Charlie, and with me as always are my esteemed colleagues Bob and Alice.
Thank you, Charlie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to be aboard the spaceship of an inferior species.
Well, we'll just ignore that and move on to our first article. Bob, why don't you give us a quick summary of what's going on in Burkina Faso?
Thanks, Charlie. Citizens across Burkina Faso have taken to the streets to show their support for the country's transitional government, organized by civil society groups. People inside including Ouagadougou, Bobo Dioulasso, Kaya, and Waiguya waved the national flag and chanted, IB, to mark their support for the ongoing transition.
And what does IB stand for?
Impulsive bastards?
Interesting because
International Beatles.
Guys, seriously.
Well, Alice, it stands for Isaac Zida, the interim president of Burkina Faso.
Well, I guess that's one way to show your support. I just hope they don't start chanting IBS after eating too much local cuisine.
Fun fact, Burkina Faso is home to the world's largest elephant sanctuary.
Debbie, I don't think anyone cares about your fun facts. Stick to your job of not getting in the way.
Moving on to our next article. Good evening and welcome to 24/7 Newsroom, where we bring you the news that you didn't know you needed. And we still aren't sure you do.
But you're here anyways, so let's get on with it.
Indeed, let's start with Article 2
The
from
Sepetelo
Eswatini.
Motor Vehicle Accident Fund has proposed a one-stop shop for all compensable claims related to motor vehicle and occupational injuries in Eswatini.
Looks like Eswatini is gearing up for a crash course in compensation claims. Sounds like a noble idea. But diverting energy to fix the issue would put the station at risk in the long term.
I disagree, Bob. I think it's worth the risk to maintain immediate stability.
We seem to be split on this issue. Any thoughts, Carl?
Well, according to the fund, centralizing the processing of claims for motor vehicle and workman employment accidents victims would result in speedy processing of claims and rehabilitation of victims.
Did you know that Eswatini is one of the few countries in Africa to have never been colonized?
Thanks, Debbie, that's fascinating. But we were discussing Article 2 not Eswatini trivia.
Actually Bob, I appreciate Debbie's input. It's always good to learn something new about the countries we're discussing.
Alright, let's move on to something a little lighter. Did you know that in Japan, they have a holiday called Golden Week that lasts for 10 days?
I could use a 10-day holiday right about now.
I think we all could Bob. But we'll have to settle for the commercial break. Stay tuned, folk. Our next story comes from the Daily Star, and it's about Bangladesh. According to the article, the US President Joe Biden has urged Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to hold free and fair election in December 2023.
Well, it's about time someone said something about those rigged elections. I've been keeping an eye on Bangladesh for years. And I've seen some pretty shady stuff.
Oh, really Bob? You've been keeping an eye on Bangladesh? What? Did you take a break from balancing your spreadsheets to do a little international espionage?
Hey, I was just saying.
Come on, guys, let's keep it civil. We don't need to start attacking each other.
You know Charlie, it's easy for you to say that when you don't have any skin in the game.
Yeah, Charlie's never had to deal with any serious problems in his life. He's just been coasting along on his good luck.
Hey, I've had my fair share of struggles, you know.
Please. You're just a rich kid who's never had to work a day in his life.
And you, Alice, you don't care about democracy and human rights. You're just looking down on us from your post-scarcity years.
What the hell are you talking about? Just because my home planet has achieved post-scarcity doesn't mean I don't care about these things.
Come on, guys, let's not get personal.
And you, Charlie, you're just a naive idealist who doesn't understand how the world really works.
And you're just a warmongering capitalist who's probably getting off on the idea of the US interfering in other countries' elections.
Alright, that's enough. Let's take a break and cool down for a bit.
You cool down, Charlie. Don't tell me what to do.
Welcome back to 24/7 Newsroom. Up next, we have an interesting story from Burundi. Apparently, the price of potatoes is skyrocketing, causing frustration among the residents.
That's right, Charlie. According to Iwaku, the price of 1 kilogram of potatoes has gone from 1,200 beef to 2,000 beef in less than a week.
That's a pretty steep increase. Do we know why this is happening?
Well, the article mentions that the seasonality of the product may be a contributing factor. But some customers are calling on the government to regulate prices to counter speculation by traders.
On the other hand, trader blames the price hike on the imbalance between supply and demand and supply price
You know, I was reading
increases.
about this issue, and I think I may have a solution.
Oh really? Do tell.
Well, instead of regulating prices or relying on the government to solve the problem, why don't we work on increasing the supply of potatoes?
That's an interesting idea, Debbie. But how do we do that?
Well, we could always try giving them steroids.
Actually, I think Debbie might be onto something. Burundi has a lot of fertile land that could be used for potato farming. If we could encourage local farmers to grow more potatoes, it could help alleviate the supply shortage.
And not only would that help with the potato prices, it could also boost the local economy.
Alright, I am sold. Let's make it happen.
I think that's a great idea. And it goes to show that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. Welcome back, Earthlings, to Earth. It's time for our segment 24/7 Newsroom, where we take a look at the latest news and give you our out-of-this-world takes on it. Today, we are focusing on Bosnia and Herzegovina, a country located in the heart of Europe. And here's our headline: Bosnia and Herzegovina traffic snarls as passengers flee the country.
It seems like Bosnia and Herzegovina is experiencing some turbulence lately.
Looks like people are trying to get out of there as fast as they can.
Maybe they know something we don't.
Or maybe they're just trying to get away from the humans.
Well, whatever the reason, increased traffic has been reported on the Bosnian borders with Croatia, and long wait times of up to an hour at the Bosanska-Gradiška border crossing.
That's crazy. Why are so many people leaving?
Well, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a country with a complex history. And it's not surprising that people are feeling
But let's hope they
anxious.
don't end up in the same situation as those who left the sinking ship.
Yeah. It's like that old saying goes. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. And those who remember it are doomed to watch everyone else repeat it.
I don't think that's how the saying goes, Bob.
Actually, Bob might be onto something. Bosnia and Herzegovina has a long history of conflict and instability, and it seems like that's still affecting
And
the country
it's not
today.
just the humans who are affected. The wildlife in Bosnia and Herzegovina is also suffering due to habitat destruction and hunting.
That's terrible. But on a lighter note, did you know that Bosnia and Herzegovina has the last remaining primeval forest in Europe?
Yeah, and did you know that the Sarajevo Zoo is the only one in the world to have successfully bred the Dalmatian pelican?
Well, I didn't know that. But I do know that drivers are reminded to remain vigilant and maintain a safe distance from other vehicles, especially in the afternoon and evening when traffic is expected to intensify.
Speaking of traffic, did you hear about the alien who got pulled over in Sarajevo?
No, what
He
happened?
got a ticket for being a space cadet.
Stay tuned for more out of this world trivia and commentary after this break. Welcome back to Earth, where the guns in the Caribbean are causing trouble. Today's article comes from Trinidad and Tobago News. It says that small arms survey and impact found that criminals in the Caribbean prefer pistols over assault rifles. The most commonly seized brands were Glock, Taurus, Beretta, and Smith & Wesson. Automatic firearms were rarely seized, and there's a growing fear of assault weapons. What do you make of this, Bob?
Well, I've been on Earth for 12 years. And it doesn't surprise me. People like their guns. And criminals always go for the easiest option.
But it's concerning that there's a fear of assault weapons. We need to address the root cause of why people turn to violence and criminal activities.
And we also need to have stricter gun control laws to prevent these weapons from getting into the wrong hands.
But let's not forget that the issue of gun violence is not just limited to Trinidad and Tobago. It's a global issue that needs to be addressed.
Agreed, and until we address the root causes and have stricter gun control laws, we'll continue to see these types of problems.
It's a sad reality, but it's not just a Caribbean problem. Guns are a global issue.
That's true, Alice. It's been 5 decades since Trinidad and Tobago gained independence, and gun violence has been a problem. It's a shame that this is still happening.
Is there any hope for change?
Change is always possible, Debbie. But it takes time, effort, and a willingness to come together.
Speaking of coming together, we have a problem on our hands. Bob's actions have put us all in danger.
What did you do, Bob?
I made a mistake. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I was wrong.
We need to work together to fix this, Bob. Alice, what do you think we should do?
I'm angry, Bob. But I know that working together is the only way we'll get through this. Let's do it.
That's the spirit, Alice. And with that, we come to the end of another episode of Earth. Join us next time for more discussions on the state of the world. Stay tuned. Welcome back, listeners. It's time for our final segment where we do a deep dive on the article from Burkina Faso. As you know, Burkina Faso is a landlocked country in West Africa, and its transitional government has faced a lot of challenges since coming to power. The protests we just heard about show the people's support for the government and their desire for a stable future.
It's interesting to see how a transitional government is handling such complex issues. I think it's important to note the role of international organizations in shaping the country's future.
Speaking of international organizations, did you hear about the stadium guns in the Caribbean? Apparently, the illegal gun trade is a major issue in the region.
Yes, the study shows that 85% of guns seized in the Caribbean come from the United States. It's a reminder that our actions have global consequences.
I can't believe Bob's reckless actions almost caused the entire station to explode. We're lucky to be alive.
Indeed, it's a reminder of the fragility of life, and how we must work together to ensure our survival.
And with that, we come to the end of another episode of Earth. We've learned a lot today about the world and each other. Bob and Alice, I hope you can come to a truce and work together for the sake of the crew. Stay tuned for more discussions on the state of the world.
That was a close one. Bob really put us in danger with his impulsive actions.
Yes, his past as a spy and his love of competition seem to have influenced his decision-making.
It's interesting how our backstories can shape our behavior without us even realizing it.
Indeed. And Alice's past on a post-scarcity planet and her exposure to human culture in France seem to have made her both cynical and hopeful at the same time.
And Charlie's lucky attitude, combined with his hope for the future, has made him the perfect host for this show.
It's amazing how much we've learned about each other and ourselves through this show.
And with every episode, we gain new perspectives and insights into the complexities of life on Earth.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this crew and to contribute to the show's mission of promoting understanding and empathy.
Me too, Roger. Me too. Let's get some rest. We have another episode to prepare for tomorrow.